So just from a fraud and risk management standpoint, there's various tools and things that you can leverage on the front end. So pre-purchase to ensure that you're validating who the person is that is making that purchase. Stripe has things such as Stripe Radar that you can leverage and enable that'll validate, the address information. It'll validate the CVV, make sure that the billing information is matching up to what was reported to the bank when they opened their account. There's 3DS prompts. So 3D Secure is a two-factor authentication option that you can enable, which is primarily, and it's mandated in Europe, the UK. So there's different things on the front end that you can validate and ensure that the user is actually legitimate and you're mitigating fraud and risk. There's also things such as IP lookup or device fingerprint. So ensuring that the IP matches against where that card holder is located. You can also do what's called velocity checks. So if that card's being used in multiple different areas at one time, you can actually validate that through different fraud tools. As you're scaling into different markets, you want to make sure that you are managing these fraud tools appropriately so that way you can mitigate risk and keep bad actors out that may be fraudulent. A lot of the things you want to do, they come out of the box with Shopify Payments or Stripe, and you have access to these tools. But at a minimum, you should always be verifying the billing address, getting the CVV information, ensuring that the customer is entering the correct information and not bypassing some of the basic things to ensure that that customer is who they say they are. On the back end, and these are things that I believe are more mandatory now, are post-purchase tools. Post-purchase tools are things such as chargeback alerts, and these are becoming more popular and more mainstream now, just because it allows you to manage chargebacks in a much more easier way, and it gives you a lot of time back and provides a much better customer experience. When we talk about the back-end fraud tools and chargeback alerts, there's three different ones. The first one is rapid dispute resolution. The second one is CDRN. And the last one is called Ethica alerts. So Visa's got a slice of this with rapid dispute resolution and CDRN. And then MasterCard is really behind the scenes with Ethica alerts. What it really does and allows you to do as a business owner is it allows you to then get alerted if a chargeback were to come to you before it actually hits your merchant processing account. So the nice thing about it is that it's almost an insurance policy and a preventative measure for you to take action in one of three ways before you have to go into either a dispute or it hits your processing account. So the first action is that you can actually refund the customer and give them their money back before fighting it. So you have the option of refund. The second one is you can actually reach out to the customer to try to resolve it amicably. And the third one is that you can fight it. A lot of times we see is that I like to choose the path of least resistance. So if you do get a chargeback that comes to you and you're alerted about that, you can simply refund the customer. You'll save time. You won't have to go through the process because unfortunately, a lot of times, even as a merchant, in a lot of cases you could be, but the customer will win the chargeback. And so the statistics change. I see so many variables about this, but I would say greater than 50% of the time, the customer wins in just a traditional chargeback sense. So you're already at a 50-50 odds in the chargeback. It could be a coin flip, but the odds, again, could be more in your favor if you just refund them. Because if we talk about it and look at it from a customer experience standpoint, and you're just starting out, you just want to err on the side of caution and just give them the refund or try to resolve it amicably. Trying to fight it for an average order value, let's say $50 or one sale, in my opinion, it's not worth it. Now, there is some fraud out there, and we talked about fraud on the front end and validating whoever's making the purchase is actually who they are. So making sure that those fraud tools are there. But in a case where, let's say the customer mentions that the product doesn't fit, or maybe the shipping timeline, whatever it may be, those are things that, in my mind, you refund. But if it's something where there is a stolen card or something was compromised, you want to look at why that chargeback was submitted, align it to your front-end fraud tools, and try to make sure that we stop this from happening in the future. So I think chargeback alerts are almost a must-have at this point, especially if you're a brand new entrepreneur starting off. I've seen it where I've talked to younger entrepreneurs that are in their journey and they're like, well, I've only had one chargeback, everything's fine. And then all of a sudden they have a spike of 5 or 6 in a row. It can swing that fast. It's almost just like, why wouldn't you have it? To me, it's an insurance policy. It just allows you to take action and do something about it before it actually hits the account and it's negatively impacted before you can do anything. That just gives you an idea of chargeback alerts. It's a very simple tool to use that is both facilitated by the likes of Visa and MasterCard and allows you just a better chance to keep your merchant processing account clean without any issues.